evening! Hi, welcome to this very new thing for SCIRE. This is the first time we've done a stream. It's not something we normally do at all. It's normally when I do a piece of equipment, all I do is film a massive video about it so you can see how it works and where it came from. But today's a little bit different. The bit of equipment I've been working on for the last couple of years needs a bit more of an explanation. So I thought, why not do that as a bit of a conversation, a bit of a chat, so I could let everyone know what I'm thinking when we're putting it together, what we've been doing when we're testing it, what sort of reactions we've been getting, and how best to use it. So let's make a bit of a start. So first off, I'd like to thank everyone who's helped me get to the point of being able to put the Empath devices out there. There are a few teams who've been investigating with me while we're using it and have now also got their own one and taken out to the field. So thank you very much to everyone who's participated in getting to this point and into the future as well. But what is the Empath? So let's have a little look at it. Set up a few things today so you can have a look. Zoom cam, there we go. So this is the Empath device, and what the Empath is a extension to the current equipment. So it takes what we've learned from the other piece of equipment, like this, so the Aeroflux and the Magnavox and the TAD, and using the algorithms and the things which we've learned from those and the interactions we've had, takes those and provides a more scaled response, which can then hopefully give us information about who we're talking to, what's really been going on. So, see, we've got a few people saying hello. So, hi all, hi Phil, Matt, oh, hi Kev, and Michelle. Oh, good to see you all again in the chat, and hopefully you see some of you very soon again as well. So going back to what the Empath was, I want to kind of cover a bit about how it's conceived, why I've actually gone to the trouble to build this new device. And that was based off the fact that when I first started making the other piece of equipment, so the TAD or the Empath or the Magnavox, they were only really there to let you know when something else was going on. It was from our observations that certain environmental conditions were being affected by other events. So people were seeing K2s go off at the same time as Aerofluxes, and our data loggers were showing there was something to these other events which meant that the environment was changing. The problem is that they were only there to warn you, keep attention to what else is going on. Maybe check back your footage at that point, see if you've missed anything. There was a little bit of a trigger to let you know that something might be going on that you weren't aware of. Over time, though, I started hearing back from people that they were actually using them to communicate. So if something was going off, they were counting that as a yes, a good response. And if something wasn't, sometimes it was no. There was lots of different ways of doing it, and I started doing it myself as well because it seemed to be communicative, that we were getting responses back when we were just calling out, and then things would go off, and then you'd get a good hit on your calling out, and you'd see something get triggered, which wasn't really the point of it, but was very useful for a long period of time. And what myself and other people tend to do is the things that are going off, be it a TAD's going off and the cat ball's going off, or K2 or something, they would allocate, say that's a yes and that's a no, and then get into communication, which is great. I started thinking that it was quite difficult to kind of drill down though on some of the conversations, and sometimes they stop dead with just that kind of binary yes/no response. So I started exploring some ways with the current equipment how to expand on that and be able to drill down a bit more into what what sort of information was being trying to given to us, and if we missed anything, just by giving a response which was no, but it was actually quite close. How do we deal with that? If we say, are you a fireman, and we get a no, but it turns out they were a firewoman, then we've kind of missed that opportunity at all, and we'll just go into a different line of questioning. So I wanted to try and get away from that binary aspect of using the devices as a communication one. So got a few clips tonight I want to play you from different bits of investigations, which hopefully show you a little bit about my thought process here. So the first one is from Woodchester Mansion.
Do you have a straight car?
And what you can see there is 5 error fluxes against the wall, and those error fluxes we've called out to mean yes, mostly yes, I don't know, mostly no, and no. And we've used that same technique in quite a number of places for a good couple of years to be able to kind of drill down a little bit. So if you get responses which are mostly yes, then you know you're kind of along the right track with your questioning. Hi Hal, hi Clem and Jamie as well. Thanks for joining. So just saw some more friends in the chat, which is lovely. Hello. Right, so yeah, 5 error fluxes in a row. So that was really useful when you're kind of close to the mark. So there's another example in the nunnery near Malvern where we were asking questions, trying to talk to a nun, because that's what you do when you go to the nunnery. And the answers we got from the 5 were, I'm not really religious, but I do like the place, but not actually the building. And we ended up talking to a groundskeeper who used to work on the churchyard before the nunnery was built. And we only got there because we were getting mostly yeses and mostly nos, as opposed to just a binary yes or no. And if we'd have got a response which was just no, we would have moved on, and we'd have missed the opportunity to have a half-hour long chat with a groundskeeper. Now, moving on from that, it kind of struck me that you could probably, if you can communicate in a way and explain how it works, if you can build a scale of responses from a number of different devices, then you could use that scale to then get other information. So beyond the closed question approach of yeses and nos, could we use that to get some more quantitative answers? So we start expanding it. You can see this shot here from Woodchester as well, where we built a clock shape out of 12 devices and a couple in the center for control. And then we're using that to try and come up with numbers and letters to try and get some more useful information apart from just the yeses and nos. This occasion didn't work so well, but on the previous occasion, we actually managed to get reactions just following us around and some numbers out, which didn't seem to really relate to anything. But one thing about the paranormal is you can never guarantee what you're going to get out of it. But that led me to thinking that, how about if we tied these scaled responses to words or information, but more specifically to questioning? Because when you start calling out, you're kind of going along this path. So after doing a bit of kind of analysis of the sort of calling out questions I did and other people were doing, I kind of broke it into 3 main groups of information that people were trying to get, which was they wanted to know if the person who they're speaking to was okay, how they were feeling, what was going on with them at the present or before they used to live there, etc. Something about them as an individual, trying to get information about who they're talking to. And then lastly, information relating to the investigator themselves. So is there something that the investigator needs to know about the location or an individual in the building, or so something which is kind of alerting the investigator of something. So taking those kind of really broad strokes of investigation questions, so I'd kind of come up with ways of getting responses on that scale. So focusing on, firstly, the tell me about you. No. Yeah, tell me about you. One important thing to find out about someone, to talk to them properly, is a name. So what I did was find lots of different names out there and start grouping them together into, so the origin of them. So Western and Eastern European biblical names, noun names, grouping them to be able to scale them. Then attach those scales and those types of names to all the different types of environmental changes. So an environmental change for air pressure and temperature. Oh, that's very bright. That's better. So temperature and magnetism, but also EMF. And then using any responses back from those changes in environmental conditions, pull through some information. The idea being is that if I was trying to communicate and I was being given the opportunity to tell someone my name, and I said, been told, you've been using this air pressure all night. If you affect that in different ways, if you concentrate more on it, or if you get closer to it, it will produce a different response. But you need to keep trying at it. You need to keep working at trying to get what you want. Then I think I'd be able to then focus on doing that, as putting myself in their place. And that's what I found. So when the first prototype ones, that's exactly what I found. I was find that I was getting lots of hits, lots of names. Then it started to kind of group together around the same sorts of names. So next clip I'll show you is a really interesting one at the George Jarvis School, where the names that started coming through were all floral names. It was just like female floral names, and it kept on coming with different ones. And in the device, those are all very close together. So whatever interaction was going on there was a focus of trying to hit a particular name, and it almost felt like it was kind of close until we got one, and then we got some very good responses with other equipment, and then when we were using the name, we were getting lots of responses back again. So it felt like whoever was trying to communicate to us with this hit what they wanted, and then responded well when we started to say, yeah, we understand what you're trying to say. So if I
go towards the device, which is just saying names at the moment, and use however you were able to affect these guys here, these ones that are going wow.
Sorry about that.
And then do that in the same way over there. You can use that to communicate with us. You can let us know things like what you need, exactly, just like that. What you need, anything we can do for you, and also things about your family. Anyone in your family you want to talk about?
Shall I move that one over? Accomplishment?
So that's where I'm basically explaining the different sorts of information they can hit with the changes that they've been using previously.
Accomplishment, or
Yeah.
do you feel like you wanted to accomplish something you didn't?
That was the word accomplishment, which is a person's need, which is one of the
I was looking for.
trees and axes, which as soon as it came through and I started questioning it, lots of other hits.
Wasn't Daisy?
Do you think a lot of them all sound like flavours?
Hmm.
There's quite a few of them that are coming through that all sound like flavours or...
Well, the names are grouped by their origin.
Yeah.
So what the strength of the hit is clustering around the same point, as well as being an air pressure spike.
Yeah.
So these are a lot of flower ones, or at least object ones.
It could be one person trying to find their name in flower.
Exactly. That's the theory, basically.
Prudence.
Yellow.
It is yellow. Room yellow.
This is where I then try and use the name Daisy again.
Thank you. Am I correct? like to share a room? With your name yellow?
What's a nickname?
Is your name a yellow flower?
Yeah, Daisy.
Daisy. Daisy was one of them, wasn't it?
Right,
Yeah.
Daisy.
Daisy would.
There we go.
Hi Daisy.
That's
Yeah, pressure,
the same.
Do you want to come and join us? If it's yourself, Daisy.
Thank you.
Mm.
There you go, must be Daisy.
Catball.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy.
Hi Daisy.
Wow. I sound like Daisy, it picks it up. I
Yeah.
know it's really strange, sorry, it does.
Yeah, so and that's the same sort of thing we've seen in several different places so far, where we've been getting some repeating information which is very similar, very kind of similar sort of tones, or need to pass across. So names and places. Sometimes getting a few things with dates as well, which they keep trying to hit a particular month, and then we get the right one, and then that's when we start being able to get some really good communication after that. But yeah, not that night, whenever we were around the entire building, we just started talking to Daisy, and it was a very interesting evening. So one important point I found quite early on with it as well is, as you saw in that clip, and the previous one kind of, that you kind of need some sort of protocol for saying whenever you hit the information that you're after, because the device isn't random. It's very specifically hitting certain words. I'd absolutely love to investigate yours as well, Kev. It would be fantastic. I can bring a wood sensor along. So what you need to do, basically, and what I found out fairly quickly, was use another piece of equipment as kind of your control, as your full stop. So when they've been trying hard to try and hit their name or whatever it is, you lay out the protocol for saying you're doing well on that. If you get the word you want and you want us to know that that's the word you're after, set something else off in a certain way. And by using that protocol, you can then say, yes, that's the word you're after. Then you use that in the calling out, and then you can use that to follow up on other questioning and potentially get down to more information and build up more of a rapport. One thing I found early on, and why it's even called the empath, is this sort of approach kind of makes you kind of stand in their shoes a little bit. Some of the words are coming out and the emotions that kind of come out through it makes you really feel a little bit connected to it. You have a bit of an empathy feeling with whoever's trying to communicate to you. We need to build up. Hi, Jamie. We need to build up a bit of a team and all go out and try these out together. That'd be great. So what I tend to do is put quite a few bits of kit out as well, because you're never too sure with using the empath what particular piece has actually done well. You know, if they've been able to use EMF and it's communicating to us in EMF, then you need another EMF device out to be able to back that up with that protocol. So I tend to do a nice spread of the same piece of equipment that using the same sort of environmental field changes as the ones the empath used. So next clip, you're going to see that taken to the extreme, pretty much. It's in Fort Widley, and we were in this piece of tunnel. It's called the D tunnel, if anyone's ever been there at all. It's the one that used to go around the ammunition room. So if someone was walking with a torch, they had to walk around this extra tunnel in order to not blow everything up. And we find it's quite active and communicative, so I really wanted to get down there. And I laid out quite a number of other bits of equipment in a nice line away from it. I tend to like shapes. I think shapes are good because you can then communicate furthest or closest or middle, and you can kind of attribute things a bit better. And I've never seen some of this equipment just go absolutely bonkers, but I'll play the clip so I don't have to just tell you what you're about to see. So, one or two things here. So, got named Sarah just came up.
Oh, that's okay.
Good, you've done what I've asked. You've set something else off. So Sarah. Sarah's an important name to you.
Hi, Sarah.
Okay, then we've put in useful names. So Sarah. Okay, Sarah. Are you Sarah? I've never seen the Tad do this before. His temperature's going up, down, up, down. Okay, we're close then. Sarah Maria. Is Maria a middle name? That's usually a Catholic middle name, if it's a given Catholic name.
Just us.
Yeah, and never seen that Tad do that before or after either. But you saw from that the responses were coming through in temperature and air pressure, and that twang noise was magnetism as well. So we're getting hits on everything which the empath could do, and we were seeing just solidly names on the empath itself, interestingly. Craig? Oh, Dudley Castle. I've been to Dudley Castle in years. Fantastic place. I remember standing there in the ruined bit with no ceiling at all and just looking at the stars. And I got on audio, just wooden footsteps right above me. It was bizarre. So yeah, if you can, it's not raining, go stand in the ruiny bit. Now, Ricardo, my friend, how are you doing? Right, so one other question I get as well. So I'm going to slip a few extra questions in as we're going along. Though I might also just actually show the device itself a little bit, considering that's what we're here for. So let's turn it on, and I'll show you how it starts up. So that's better. So what happens with all the equipment I do now? It flashes when it first starts, and during that flashing phase, it's a put down timer, and during that flashing put down timer, nothing's happening. But after it stops, it starts calibrating, and that calibration is now taking a baseline. Let me just put it on something. How are you? That sounds nice. How are you? I'll go through all these modes individually. Oh, it's not a good start. Yeah. So when we start this off and it's done its calibration, it's then set this baseline of what's going on in the environment. But like the other equipment, that baseline is then just kept an eye on. So if, say, like the magnetic fields, then Earth's natural field does change over time. And if we stick to that initial calibration, it's going to go off crazy. I think a lot of the first generation Magnavexes had that issue that you need to reset them because they need to recalibrate themselves. So this is built-in recycling calibration, in fact. Right, so one of the first questions that I got when people started testing these out is, can I use them outside or not? Because a lot of people do external investigations or in buildings with no windows, and a lot of the questions I get with, say, aerofluxes are, the air pressure is naturally going to change quite a lot. Is just picking up the breeze or not? And the point of these is it's looking for a very fixed pattern of fluctuation. Lots of interesting words there. My house isn't haunted, I don't think, so it's mostly just the fan. I think just saying that, I suppose. No, actually, by looking at those words, I think it's the equipment that's on my desk. But never mind. Yeah, so outside, does that work or not? And I found it does, actually. It works quite nicely outside. It calibrates routinely, and it picks up that, and then it's able to detect other changes. Once it triggers a word, the light on the top, which you can't really generally see, will actually change a colour, which then indicates a particular environmental condition, so you know what's been triggered. So that's an orange, because it's an air pressure one. So let's have a look at an outside clip. This is Fort Ridley, okay. Fort Ridley on the battlements.
Thomas.
We get this name Thomas come through.
Thomas. Oh,
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hi,
Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
Hello.
You trying to take a little energy? Go on. I understand it feels nice and warm. Like putting your hands in front of a fire. Wife. Okay, that sounds like a hit. You want to talk about your wife? So let's change mode. If you want to tell us.
So, if I zoom in again. So actually, Kev, it's temp, air pressure, magnetism, and EMF. So it uses them in both directions. So a temperature increase is different to a temperature decrease, and an air pressure fluctuation, which is on an increase of pressure, is different to a decrease. And the same with magnetism. It's if it's a magnetic field south spike or north spike, those are treated differently. So the responses that are scaled are on these axes of whatever has been triggered. I'll show you actually through a little of a walkthrough. It's all based on these wheels. So, and the other question I'm asked is these are really useful, and every time all the prototypes and all the future ones come with nice laminated wheels, which then have the same information, because you need to know how to use this when you're calling out. And likewise, if someone else is there and they can see these wheels, then perhaps they can read from them as well and use them. So you both know how the device works, and you both know how to get responses from it, and how hard the response needs to be in order to trigger words. So in the how are you feeling, this uses air pressure or magnetic to get positive emotions. So if I we were in the tell me about you how you're feeling mode earlier, we were getting disappointed, which would be a negative emotion. So we were getting air pressure or magnetic field down spikes. And what I tend to do is, if I want to communicate in a certain way and pick a certain question, I would use whatever had been triggered during the night. So if I was getting lots of magnetic field hits or pressure hits, I'd look at what options I had on the questions to the sort of information I wanted to try and get to. So likewise on the how are you feeling, you have access to needs and desires. So things people have to have and things that people would like to have. Basically I've grouped it up. And the words you can see are starting on the inner section. So like positive emotions with excited, motivated, amiable, valued. That's a small hit. And then further up the wheel you go, that's the bigger hit. So the idea being, if someone had a very strong emotion about something, you see a large change, and then you get a word back, which is a big word. Now, the words you see actually on the wheel here are kind of titles for a cluster of words, which then have a smaller scale of impact. So the responses are kind of chunked into tiers of how big the response was, and then within that tier, then there's a more granular hit. So you end up with a quite nice scale of the words increasing in strength and emotion. In practice, what I tend to find, because of the calibration as well, is when you start off, you can get some quite strong responses, but that's as the machine is learning how strong the response the person you're talking to can do. Because one thing I found on quite early on was that trying to get the right scale of how much needs to be triggered to set things off was wildly different depending on whoever you were speaking to, which location, what time of the month it was, because lunar phases are a thing when it comes to paranormal investigation. But I'll do that on a different stream maybe. So it needed to calibrate to the person who it was communicating with. So generally speaking, the first sort of hits you get when you're communicating can be quite extreme words, but then it scales back as it learns how big can they go, or sometimes stays up there because they can go pretty big. Okay, sorry I wasn't keeping up on the chat. EMF is field based. It's got 3 amplifiers in there, so I wouldn't say tri-field, more bi-field. Matt, well, I mean, I can leave this to the end, but the reason I'm on the stream tonight is because I finally can put them out there, and they are now available on the website as a first batch. So I have a limited quantity which I've made up of using all the current version of the device, and put that stock on the website, which is sciretech.co.uk, and literally when those have gone, they've gone. And in the background I'm working on a production version which I can then produce more routinely and less ad hoc, which isn't going to be out until probably the start of October, though there are a couple of conventions and festivals at the end of September. I might be able to bring some of them along to those as well. But otherwise, the ones on the website right now are the only ones that exist in the world which aren't already in people's hands. So yeah, if you fancy one now, then it's a good time. Otherwise, it would be, you have to wait until October to on the site. Sorry, Mike. I would have given you the heads up. Maybe one day, eh? So let's talk about the next mode, because I want to go through all the bits. So the next question to ask is, tell me about you. So this is where you tend to find that you need to kind of build up a little bit of a rapport first. I mean, I'm not telling everyone how to investigate, but I tend to treat calling out like I'm meeting someone at a bus stop. And if you start off with saying, what's your name, your job, and favourite colour, so someone you meet at a bus stop, it's a bit weird. But if you start off with just, how are you doing today? You having a nice day? And then you get into the tell me more about your personal details. Tend to not scare people off so much. So tell me about you. Scales, names and professions, and locations and relationships. And that was a challenge, trying to group together and then produce a scaled response on rooms in a house and colours and all the professions. There's a lot of professions in this device. I've tried to pick professions from across time as well. So, and then they're grouped by either a positive or a negative connotation. So law professions, so policemen, for example, and judges, and the opposite would be law-breaking professions like burglars and pickpockets. And then that's how you then see the scale. That's a negative and a positive. And you can see again this on here. So you have religious and occult. So you have religious ranks within churches, and occult is then magicians and conjurers and witches. So the opposites, I suppose. So the same rule works there. So the bigger response, the bigger the output. So sometimes again you do kind of hit these outer ring answers first, but then you just kind of scale it back and then see what other equipment goes off while you're getting some hits. The names, again, there's a lot of names in there, and also try to pick out names across different times, because you can't just have all modern ones and you can't just have all old ones, so they're kind of grouped like that as well. So if as you start to hear lots of old names, you know that then there's interaction trying to hit those old names. Hey, Ricardo. I've thought about that as well, and it's absolutely possible to do other languages. I think I know which language you'd like. Maybe we can do something for that as well. It's absolutely doable. And relationships as well. I've mixed in a few different things in the relationships because looking again at calling out questions people were doing, needs creeped into there as well. So that's on the scale because the needs tend to be things like familiarity and compassions and family. So it kind of fit nicely together. Right. Next mode, the last major question is, what do I need to know? So I'm on an investigation in Bodmin jail and talking to someone, and they want to tell me something like, get out of my jail cell, or you're missing something. These are responses which are typically come back from that sort of questioning, and again grouped. So places, sort of directions and numbers. So types of places, types of up, down, left, right, compass directions. I kind of get those quite a lot when I've been using this. Actually, it's this approach to say go here or focus there or I'm over there. Again, pulled in from there are emotions and needs are pulled together, and then time and family. So these are all things which are focused on pushing you in a direction of talking about yourself or someone else in the building or some other local history. Right, so there are two other modes. I'm going to show you these in real time as well. So mode 1, so operation as well while I'm here. So there are three, barrister. There are 3 different buttons on here. The center button always skips through the modes. So on to that one, yeah, that one. So how are you? Tell me something about you. Is there anything I should know? And then this one, closed question mode. That was quite quick, but we'll keep going. And then the left and right buttons do different things. If you press them long or short changes. Which, if you press them short presses, it goes up and down the list. Now that list has 100 spots, and it stays as is no matter which mode you're going in. So if you want to change modes and change questioning, you don't lose the conversation history you've had, and then can review at the end of the session. If you hold down, it changes the volume. So it gets quite loud, which is good if you want it in a different room and don't have to go and look at the screen. Or if it's very annoying, you can turn it down and just look at the screen. I'll turn myself down then. Right, I'm skipping past the mode. So the closed question mode. This goes back to our use 5 devices to come up with how something works.
Yes, I disagree.
Ooh.
Down.
And what this does is it automatically assigns those environmental changes in the yes/no mode. So I'm going to start off again and I'll show you. Shot. A weird angle. There we go. Oh yeah. Don't worry. After I finish this, I'll upload the entire video onto the YouTube channel so you can catch up on anything that might have missed. And what I'm just about to describe is how the yes/no mode close question mode works. And
Select mode.
we'll go to it now. And what happens is it sits there. Close question. There you go. And what you need to do is say, show me your yes answer. And in this case, it's selected very quickly, which was air pressure up. And then you say, show me your no answer. Then it waits for something different. So not air pressure fluctuations, which are increasing. And it can take some time. Sometimes in a session, I've not had it assign anything at all. It stopped dead because it's one of those times where you've gone too far, I think, and you kind of delved too much into it and you're trying to pin them down a little bit too much, and that just turns them off and it stops. But after it gets no answer, so I'm trigger one. Bring a resonate in here. The idea being is then that after it's picked its no answer, we then get a scaled response. Let's put it on the side. There we go. Ooh.
Mostly agree.
So now it comes back with a mostly agree option. Let's talk properly. So once it comes up with the yes, no responses, you then have yes, mostly yes, slightly yes, I don't know, slightly no, mostly no, and no. And what it does there is it takes those two fields, the air pressure and the magnetic field, and depending on the strength of it, then and hits one of those particular responses depending on how big the hit was. So it works very much like using several devices, but it just allows you then to switch that mode and then let it do its job, and then you still do the closed questioning. Right. Oh, hang on. Let's go on the screen. Right. So let's get out of the mode. It's all calibrate now. The last sort of mode is an automatic one. So why we've got it off is because it's automatic in entirety. So if you switch on the device and you don't do anything, you don't hit select mode, it will go to a question mode depending on any environmental things which are hit. And we've hit they choose the subject, which is the auto mode, and then we should then get a either how are you feeling, tell me about yourself, etc. whenever we get
I want
hit.
to talk about me.
There you go. So that was I want to talk about me. Which is tell me about you. So they've picked that questioning. You can then get into that question and came straight with poacher, which is an old profession, I suppose. Is it a profession? You can also select auto mode by yourself. If you go to, they choose the subject. You'll then go into auto that way.
I want
Right,
to
Matt.
tell you about me.
So it's based on responses you get in your non-auto haunted home. Would it be suitable for inhabited places? I've had it on lock-off cameras in areas of the building which we weren't investigating, and we were still getting the same sort of responses, but less so. I think as a device, it's more of a tool that you use with whoever you're communicating, as opposed to something that just picks up on stuff. It certainly works a lot better when you're interacting with it and with whoever you're talking and other stuff. It's like a communication channel, I think. So it certainly could. I haven't really used it much like that myself. This made me thinking. Hi, Dave. Thanks for coming on. Hope to see you again soon. Okay, and then the final mode, here we go, is the sensor mode, which I kind of briefly showed earlier. And what that does is it just shows you what's going on inside, shows you the current polarity and strength of the magnetic field, the air pressure fluctuation, temperature, and EMF levels. And as an added feature, it then acts as an aeroflux, a TAD, and a Magnavox, and an EMF sensor, and produces alerts when it would have gone and looked for a scaled response. It instead just produces a light. So if I can get the battery with this. So if I bring this around here, we're then getting some changes there in the magnetic field and EMF, and that's triggered. That looks like an EMF color. You can't really see in this, but it's blue. The documentation that comes with it has explanations of all the different color codes, because there are quite a few, and it's probably good to you learn them eventually. I do anyway because I keep the thing in my pocket. Okay, so those are the general modes of operation on there, and what I wanted to lastly cover, I sort of blew the whistle on, which is everything's on the website that exists. I've printed out quite a lot of these and spent some time getting them laminated, and whatever's there is literally there. But I've been again working with people who are telling me good things, bad things, things I need to change. So that's what's going in the production version. Anything which kind of crops up during this first batch. And what I've said to the people who are already involved with using these is, if you spot something you don't like, please let me know. I'm making a new version. I'll include that in there. And anyone who picks up one of these first batch versions and wants to get the next version, absolutely fine. It's just a case of returning the first batch version to me once the new ones are out, and then I'll send you a new version, just to make sure that people feel like they can let me know if there's any problems and I can actually do something about them, and then that benefits everyone really. So yeah, you're not tied to keeping hold of these if you find there's something which you don't like, or something that works a little bit weird. I've been so focused on getting all the responses to work well that there could definitely be some more focus on making sure that the usability of it works well, you know, the initial response of the interface, and any of that sort of thing. So I've had some other good feedback as well. I'm just reading you a thing. Could interference from other electronic equipment or devices at an occupied building or a home cell could cause inaccurate information results? Absolutely. I mean, mine's going off quite a lot at the moment, and I think that's largely to do with the ceiling fan and the crazy amount of equipment that I've got on my desk around it. So yeah, like any equipment, you've got to get your baseline right and do the work to learn the environment, make sure it's in a place which is not going to be going off constantly. Bear in mind if I share this around. So turning it around, we have an aperture that's where the sound comes out, so there's a speaker hole. But then this chamber here, there's a chamber inside which has then the lot of the environmental sensing is then housed in. So it's exposed to the outside environment, less so of the internal. Oh, one other point while I'm in here, down the bottom. Freeboard sticker. You don't get one of those. This version, the first version, I'm running off. It only runs on 9 volts, but I built the capacity in there to put 2 batteries in, so you can leave it running all night long if you want. The runtime is a few hours just on one, but it depends on how many responses you're getting. So that's kind of why I expanded it to a double capacity, because if you have a really active night, the last thing you want is it just to run out of batteries because it's been telling you lots of interesting things. Okay. The other feedback I've got, which is quite nice, is that one team had a number of items in their own personal collection which they've been investigating for a while, and one of them is a doll, which they've had some good responses from. And when they were using the Empath with that quite early on, literally when they got it out, and they just went straight on and try it out, came up with the name of the doll that they've been picked up for ages, and there are a lot of names in here. So it's one heck of a coincidence, if not. There've been a lot of odd coincidences as well. There's now a video on the website with this device, which has a full demonstration, but it's a cut down one of one with lots of bits of other footage, which will be on YouTube as well after the stream. And in there, we were in in a fort, and we were getting these responses which were about needing recognition and not being understood, and that kind of came across. So the person calling out saying you need some understanding, and that point of her saying the word understanding, the empath said understanding. It was freaky. I mean, the chances of that happening are fairly minimal, but how we ended up with the same word coming out of someone's mouth and the device at the exact same time. But that'll be on the video that's on YouTube if you want to check that out once that's launched there. Okay, so Matt said we get quite a lot of activity at home, which is what we are trying to understand more and communicate better with the spiritual spirits that are visiting us. Also, don't believe the house is haunted. I see. So you believe more that whoever you're communicating with is just passing through. Interesting. A moving target. It must be very difficult to try and build up any form of relationship if you're not talking to the same person more than once. Right, so that about wraps it up. I kind of covered a lot of the detail I wanted there. And again, there's a nice demo video on the website if you want to check it out. If anyone's got anything else they want to ask before I scoot off, it'd be great. Thank you very much for your time, as you persevered through it. And it was a lot of dry details there and graph wheels, which is always good when it comes to ghost hunting equipment. But I think it needed this big rambling chat through how it worked in order to really explain what I'm trying to achieve with it and how to kind of get the best out of it. Because the protocol and the approach, I think, is a big part of how this works. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. Going to call it a night there. For those who I'm going to see very soon, have a nice time. And those who are not, hope I will see you soon. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you again. Yeah.